If you had £500, what would you spend it on? And so obviously £500 to most people is a lot of money. We're talking about £500,000 here. I mean, a couple of years ago you could have bought an iPhone with that sort of money. Nowadays you can buy half of an iPhone and probably just about afford an Apple Watch or something like that. But in all seriousness, £500 is a lot of money. I know that if someone said to me right now, I'm going to give you £500, I'd probably pay £500 off to some debt that I have, or I'd go and buy something for the garden or the house, something pretty expensive, because £500 is a lot of money. You can get quite a lot with that. But what I did a couple of years ago is I had too much money, almost, I suppose. And that sounds ridiculous because you're like, well, how can you have too much money? But I was young and I was living with my parents, so money was never really an issue. I paid rent and things like that, but other than that, I didn't have a lot of bills, minus perhaps my car. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of bills that I had. So money, to me, was very disposable. I could spend it on anything pretty much. That's why I bought things like drones and new camera equipment and stuff, because I could afford it. I don't have all of that now. I sold that a long time ago, but I could afford it, so I'd just buy it. I'd just buy things because I love technology and I love gadgets. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to buy this. But basically, I got into gambling, I got into betting, and nothing like absolutely crazy, although things did spiral once, but that's a story for another time. But to begin with, it was absolutely fine, and me and my brother used to just place these odd bets for £1, £2, £5 on football games, mostly because it was a bit of fun and you get some decent winnings if you won. If you didn't, you just left it at that. You thought, well, I've put £5 down, I know that I might lose it, that's that. You don't really think anything more of it. That's the best way to do gambling. If you're going to do it, is just accept that you might lose the money you're putting down, whether that's £5, £10, £100, whatever it is. Just know that you may lose that money and you may not. You might win something, but chances are you probably won't. There was one occasion that we had both put £25 down on the same game, and it was a game that Reading were playing, where I live now, Reading, and I'm a supporter of Reading. They're not necessarily the best team in the moment, but, I support Reading, and, I just thought, well, they're going to win this game. It seemed like a game that they were probably going to win, so I stuck £25 on, because I thought, you know what, £25 is not a lot of money that I had at the time, and it's not a lot of money generally, I don't think, certainly for myself. I know to some people £25 a lot. But, so I put £25 down. I didn't really think anything more of it. I just watched the game and they lost. So I was like, oh, brilliant, they've lost. So, stupidly, for some reason, I was thinking, well, that's £25 and I want my £25 back. And I'd never done this before. And number one rule, really, when you're gambling is don't chase bets. If you lose, just accept that you've lost, like I just said a minute ago. Go into it knowing that you might lose that money. But basically, this was the first time that I thought, I want to chase that £25 and I want to get my £25 back, because I had money to play with, and I was saving up at the time to go to Australia, which didn't actually happen because I passed my test and all that. But basically, I had a lot of money. Like, I was saving up a lot of money anyway, so I had a lot of money spare. I just had a lot of money generally because, like I said before, I didn't really have any bills to pay, minus the rent and the car. So I was looking around at games, thinking, how much am I going to have to put down to actually get my £25 back, almost guaranteed. So I found a game, it was in like the 89th minute, team were winning, and I thought, okay, let's have a look. And I had to put in £500 for it to actually come up with a return of over 525. So I sat there and I thought, I just want my £25 back, and it'd be such a cool story to tell someone, like, oh, by the way, I've put £500 down, I got my £25 back. So I did it, and I typed in 500, and it came up, and I clicked, yeah, accept, I want to do this, and then it went through, and I was like, oh, I've done that now, £500, and they were winning, and I thought, well, this is fine. I'm gonna get, I think it was like £540 back, so I was gonna make a profit here as well. It was gonna be awesome. I thought, great, I'm gonna make a bit of a profit here. It's all gonna be great, and everyone's happy, or I'm happy at least. And then the worst thing in the entire world happened. They got a penalty. The opposing team got a penalty, and I thought, it's just my luck. And I think probably 9 times out of 10 penalties are scored. So I thought, well, it started to hit me then that I thought, well, I've lost this now. That £500 is gone. I'm not getting that back, and I was immediately regretting my decision. And a few moments before that, I had the option of cashing out, and that was more than 525 anyway. So I think at this point, looking back, I was being a bit greedy, because I could have just got my money back and gone and left it, because that was originally why I put the £500 down. I wanted to chase that money back, get the £25 back, and actually the second I did it, cash out was an option, and it was more than 525 anyway. So I would have, got my £500 back. I'd have got my £25 back. Would have been fine. But of course I didn't do that, because I thought, well, it's 2-1, it's like the 89th minute, they're going to win. I just thought they're going to win, nothing's going to happen in this game, although it's football, so something always happens in the last minutes. So they got a penalty, the opposing team, and I sat there thinking, I want to cash out now, but it wouldn't let me, obviously, because they suspend it, and I thought, well, there's literally now nothing that I can do. I am just praying and hoping that they don't score this penalty. And as you're probably watching this, you're thinking, yep, they scored that penalty, and you would be right, they did score the penalty. And I thought, okay, obviously I was a bit, oh, brilliant, yeah, that's not great. But I thought, well, perhaps, you know, the team that I'd put down to win, and were winning at the time I put the bet down, hence so much money, maybe they'll score another goal. And I just sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited. And it was quite a lot of extra time that they had. And then the game ended. And that was it. The game just ended. £500 just gone down the drain like that. That was it. There was no like, oh, we're going to give you £10 back. You know, nothing. There's no free bet off or anything. It was just, it's gone. Just gone. Just, the system just swallowed up my £500 and it's gone. I mean, obviously it was my fault. I put it on there. But it's just, it was so, I can't even remember how I felt at the time other than probably a massive idiot. But looking back, I don't necessarily regret the decision, because obviously at the time I wanted to do it, but I certainly have learned from that never to do that again, because just chasing your bets is the worst possible idea you could do, because it's going to end badly, as it did for me. And I suppose I was just lucky at the time that I had the money to play around with, and it's such a stupid thing to say. Like, I'm not suggesting you just waste your money, and I certainly would never do that again, and I wouldn't ever waste anyone else's money. I mean, I wouldn't even gamble anyone else's money. But you know, don't ever chase your bets. It's not worth it, and I learned the hard way. But like I said, I don't regret it. It was, I suppose, a mix of emotions. If I'm honest, I don't know exactly, because I can't remember exactly how I felt about that back then. But I'm guessing it was probably a mix of emotions, because I was probably pretty upset and feeling stupid, but also like, oh well, you learn, you live and learn. And I guess it is true. You live and learn from something like that, and that's exactly what I've done. And I know that I won't be doing that again, because I don't gamble anymore. But I certainly wouldn't, I don't have the money to be doing that, but I just wouldn't anyway. Like, if I had a spare £500, I can tell you now, I'd be buying something very nice. I wouldn't be gambling it away, because it's just, the risk is not worth it. The reward is not worth the risk of it, because, well, I suppose the reward is amazing. If you put £500 down on something and the returns are huge, you're going to get a lot of money. But then usually the reason the returns are so big is because the chances of that team or something happening is lower. So just don't gamble, basically, is my, I suppose, professional advice there, and learning from experience. And I'm only 23, I've got a lot to learn, but, you know, I like to share these stories with you. And I know some people have said to me, oh, these videos, you just sit here and talk all the time, but that's kind of what I want to do, because I have a lot to talk about. I am trying to come up with some sketches and things and go back down that route as well. I love making sketches. It's just time consuming, and I haven't got a lot of time right now. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure you like, subscribe if you're new around here. Comment down below, let me know, have you ever gambled? What's the most you've gambled? I'd be interested to know. Have you been as stupid as me doing something like that? Maybe not gambling, but just generally speaking. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you guys next time, and don't gamble, basically. Or if you do, gamble responsibly, because that's what they say nowadays.